and you shouldn't buy from someone you don't know. If you're buying it from anybody, you know, get a good source, because a lot of guys out there selling contaminated weed, and it's very bad. It's very bad. So moving along, we'd like to go now to William Devane. Will, are you here? Will was involved. He discovered a cannabinoid receptor and is involved in scientific research. He's American, so be gentle.
Go on, Kiwi. Go on, Kiwi.
From who?
Hello. I thought I'd just talk a little bit about the science behind how marijuana works in the brain. And I'll start off, like, it's been used for thousands of years, especially in India. The recent, how should I say it, the literature starts about the 1840s, where this one doctor who was working in India. He wrote a paper, and because they were using marijuana and hemp in India as a medicine at the time, especially for certain nervous diseases. So he did some experiments using dogs and small children, and he determined that it seemed to be a relatively safe drug, you know. And what Paul had mentioned earlier, there is no lethal dose of cannabis, unlike cocaine or nicotine even, or alcohol. Cannabis is a relatively safe drug to use. They started about the 1890s, 120 years ago, trying to purify the active ingredients from marijuana. That was work that was done in Cambridge by Wood and Spivey. But it wasn't until 1963, Rafi Meshulam, working in Israel, he's the one who discovered the structure of delta-9 THC. So that's not that long ago. And then in 1988, working as a doctoral student in Olin Howlett's laboratory in St. Louis University, that's where I discovered the receptor for marijuana. And we call it the CB1 receptor. And since then, the receptor was cloned like 2 years later, even before any opiate receptors were cloned. And 25 years ago, there might have been 20 labs working on cannabis research, but now there's well over 1,000. So there is actually a lot of support from the governments looking into how cannabis works in the brain. Any questions? Yeah, that's true. Like this one Sativix, which is it's half THC and half cannabidiol. That's marketed in England and also in Canada.
Thought it kills brain cells.
You know,
What happens in the brain? What does that mean?
well, you have a natural pathway. I also discovered anandamide. I named it Ananda from the Sanskrit word for bliss. But there's a natural pathway in your brain, and perhaps some of the physiological effects are being able to filter out different sensations coming into your brain. You know, you don't want to remember everything. You don't want to be conscious of all of reality, you know. But
Can I throw tuppence into that?
sure.
At that point, what one of my neurologists told me was that what they think may have happened with the cannabis when I took it is that it released the spasticity of my nervous system connecting to the muscles, and it took away the cramps, and it allowed the muscles to relax because I had a chemical reaction from the cannabis in the nervous system that transferred down to the muscular system, and therefore allowed the muscles to relax, and therefore it allowed me to do this. And that's the result. And I can tell you for a positive fact that I have taken absolutely nothing else, no medication whatsoever, because neurology is very, very honest. It says that it doesn't have any treatment. So the only thing I took was cannabis, nothing else. So I can stand here with absolute surety and tell you that there's nothing else I took to allow me to do this. Now I can only do this for a couple of minutes, but it means I can go to the loo on my own with dignity. That is a huge thing in my life. So that's the chemical reaction. The receptors in your brain, the SSRIs, etc., etc., they're inhibited. The cannabis released the inhibition and allowed the muscles to function to a slight degree again. Now it's getting worse again. It's a temporary thing. But Jesus, if I can have this for 6 months of my life, why not? But that's where the chemical reaction, I am told. Just to reinforce your point, sir, I've asked the neurologists that are dealing with me to send out a European investigation, and that investigation is taking place right now within European neurology to look into cannabis and the whole issue around motor neuron disease. So there are people looking at this, yeah.